66-year-old Laura Carleton shot and killed Friday outside the clothing store she owns near Lake Arrowhead. Law enforcement says the suspect made several disparaging remarks about a rainbow flag that stood outside the store.
A store owner in Cedar Glen, California was shot and killed by a man who allegedly made several disparaging remarks about a rainbow flag that stood outside of the store. Now, the victim, Laura Carleton, was an advocate for the LGBT community, and that same flag had been taken down several times before she was violently killed. Now, the man, apparently, according to the sheriff's report, arrived at the store, Mag.pi, around 5 p.m. and criticized her pride flag before he shot her, according to the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. Laura Carleton, 66, was pronounced dead at the scene. And the authorities have yet to identify the gunman. However, although authorities haven't identified him, they have reported that he died following a lethal force encounter with deputies after the shooting, the sheriff's department said in a statement. They also elaborated on that a little more by saying that when authorities confronted him, he was in possession of a gun, which makes a lot of sense. He allegedly shot and killed the shop owner here. Now, Matthew Clevenger, who is of the Lake Arrowhead LGBTQ+ organization, said that she was a strong ally of the community. Carleton also helped create a culture in which the community felt accepted, but some community members tragically were still resistant, he said, and took down the pride flag multiple times. So it's just incredibly heartbreaking. You think of a state like California, deep blue state, but there's still deep bigotry among some people, and it's so extreme that they feel entitled to literally taking someone's life over, the tolerance and acceptance that she was promoting through her store.
So unfortunately, this is a good example of how it started and how it ends, or how it's going. So theoretically, all this anti-LGBTQ hate began with a concern about groomers and pedophiles and protecting the children. And then, as I told you throughout, those were all lies and excuses. It was just to attack people who are LGBTQ. And now they've dropped the mask entirely, and they're just murdering people for saying that they don't mind gay people existing. So is it all of them? Of course not. Is this campaign to drive hatred causing this? Yes, obviously. There weren't this many murders of people who are gay or just supporting gay people before. There are now. There's tons of acts of violence. People getting, also on top of that, people getting canceled, fired as teachers, librarians, on. And these are from the same people who say, freedom, freedom. I need to have the freedom to reject gay people, and I don't want their cake. I don't want to make a cake for them. I don't want to take pictures of them. Oh, you have a flag supporting them? Let's kill you. Let's murder you, okay? So now, how do I know that the overall movement, or why do I say the movement overall is guilty? Well, if they showed balance and they said, look, we were concerned about some books. Look, that one's too graphic. And you can see why it's too graphic. Let's take that one out. That one goes too far in this or that. Let's take that out. But the rest of them are totally fine. No, we didn't mean that. We didn't mean like targeting actually LGBTQ people. Yeah, of course you could say gay, and you could acknowledge gay parents in the schools in Florida, et cetera. If they had done that, then I'd say, guys, whoa, no, the left, you're mischaracterizing them. They just were talking about these specific books. They've shown the examples, and I can see how those books went too far. Did they do that? No, none of them. They all like ban all the books, ban everything that says about anything about LGBTQ. Oh yeah, you got a pride flag, we're gonna attack you. Look, so he happened to murder her, which is of course 10,000 times more egregious. But as Anna explained to you, several different people ripped down that flag over and over and over again. If you think the right wing in this country, or a giant section of it, is not driving absolute and utter hatred towards the LGBTQ community, you're burying your head in the sand. And these kind of murders happen, and you got to wake up to that. And it's disgusting. And yes, it's a movement that's driving it. It's not just one rando who did this.
Yeah, look, I think that it is impossible to live freely and safely in a pluralistic society, a pluralistic country like the United States, when you have political parties capitalizing off of culture wars in order to drum up moral panics, to drum up fear and hatred. And that is what we have seen, certainly on a state level, not in California, but the discourse, the rhetoric that we've seen in the media, the fear mongering and scaremongering about the groomers. I'm glad you mentioned that, Cenk, because if you think like, oh, some portion of the LGBT community totally fine, no one wants to target them. No, every member of that community is now being targeted, right? You see it happening in this case when you literally have a straight white shop owner who's just flying the rainbow flag outside of her store, and she was also selling, she always made sure to sell, rainbow colored products in her store as well in order to show support for the local LGBT community. And San Bernardino, some parts of it definitely do lean a little more red. So when you think of California, it's not all blue. Some counties lean a little more red, but nonetheless, this kind of rhetoric and this kind of moral panic that we're seeing play out over and over again in right-wing media, in the way our politicians talk about, the LGBT community, that has an impact. And that unfortunately persuades some people to take matters into their own hands because they think they're doing something positive in responding to what they believe is, a dangerous or toxic element of society. In reality, they're the dangerous and toxic elements of society. People who feel entitled to literally robbing someone of their life because she happened to be supportive of this community and fly, a rainbow flag outside of her store.
And this is literal terrorism. First of all, it's obviously based on hatred and a political ideology. They didn't have a fight over, the price he was paying on any product. No, he picked the fight because of the pride flag and then murdered her because of the pride flag. But the terrorism comes into how it terrorizes the rest of us. So now every time you fly a pride flag, you gotta be worried, is some right-wing lunatic going to murder me or my family members because of this campaign of terror throughout the country? So one of my neighbors is a good old boy from Louisiana, and he's a wonderful guy. And he's got a family, he's straight, but sometimes he puts up the pride flag because he's a decent, wonderful human being. So now does he have to be worried? Do we all have to be worried that some lunatic right-winger is gonna murder all of us because somebody put up a pride flag in the neighborhood? And the answer is yes. Yes, we do have to be worried about that, let alone if you're gay. So what the hell's going on here? By the way, guys, think about it this way. Can Al-Qaeda scare the LGBTQ community in this country in a similar way? No, even if they tried, they couldn't scare people in this way because they're not surrounding us. Whereas lunatic right-wingers are surrounding us. But look, guys, they've always been here. It's not like that guy didn't exist before. What's the difference? It's the right-wing media egging it on, and the politicians like Trump, yeah, and DeSantis, yeah, go, you should hate them, It's their problem. They're the ones that are changing America. They're the ones. No, it's not the bankers, it's not the powerful, it's not the donors, it's LGBTQ folks, right? And so, look, I'm gonna add 2 layers to that problem. One is also the glorification of gun and violence culture. That's why 41% of Republicans say that it might be time for violence. And by the way, in that same poll, a huge percentage of independents and Democrats said the same thing, because our politicians and our media talks as if violence is optional. Oh, well, sometimes you have to stand up against government tyranny or the tyranny of a lovely 66-year-old lady who's just trying to be a decent human being. And then finally, it's the elephant in the room. No one ever acknowledges it because you don't want to offend people and hurt their feelings. But fundamentalist religion is a cancer. It's an absolute utter cancer. It teaches people that there's something wrong with being gay. There's nothing wrong with being gay. Nothing. No sky god ever said you shouldn't be gay. In fact, God created people that way. It is an absolute insult to God, if you believe in God, to say no, that's a sin. If you ever say that being gay is a sin, you're definitely part of the problem.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.